The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. One of the most important events in most children's lives is their year of kindergarten. In fact, a currently popular book with adults all over the country is Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Today we're going to look at an exemplary kindergarten class and a really dynamic teacher. We're going to visit Highland Catholic in St. Paul and see what teacher Mary Kay Cooney and her students do on a typical class day. Well, Mary Kay, here we are in your classroom. It's wonderful, all the pictures on the wall, the books, the bird chirping quietly in the corner, your eggs hatching away. But today we're going to talk a little bit about not only your philosophy of teaching, but why you think the whole language program has been a real effective way of working with students.
Okay, welcome, Gretchen. It's really fun to have you here. Kindergarten is so exciting to teach nowadays because basically what my job is to create a positive learning environment for the children so that hopefully we can meet each child's individual needs, both academically, physically, emotionally, and aesthetically. And the wonderful thing about whole language, it's so much fun because it really draws on the talents and the interests of the children, and they can just kind of take off and go with their great ideas. It's so much fun because it has a variety of activities that we do to kind of meet the children's needs both visually, auditory, and kinesthetically. We do a lot of movement and music ideas, and the fun thing, you can see the books here behind us, this whole idea of whole language is really kind of a holistic approach, and it's where the teacher and the students kind of co-design the curriculum.
So even kindergarten students can help co-design?
Kindergarten students are wonderful. They're so exciting because depending upon their responses, I'll have set objectives, that we want to accomplish for a particular lesson. But even though I teach a morning class and an afternoon class, depending upon the responses that I get from the children and the interest that they show, we can kind of take off in one direction or another. And it just really is exciting. Now, this whole idea is not a brand new idea. It's been around for about 20 years. And they used to do it many years ago. And then they got down to working on specific skills. But this is so much more interesting because what you do is we take a big book or a shared book and we will kind of develop our whole unit really kind of around that. So like when we did our ocean unit, we read the book Grandpa, and we talked about grandparents, and we have a grandpa and a granddaughter, and it's just really exciting because it can draw so many other ideas in besides, ocean life and excitement. The kids love this one. This is the meanies, and we got into opposites, the meanies, and then we wrote a book about the niceys. And another thing, they love Mrs. Wishy-Washy. They love just to say wishy-washy and get involved in it. And there also we were able, like with this book, it's real exciting because Mrs. Wishy-Washy had all these had 3 animals that jumped into the mud. So what we did was we focused in on phonetically. We picked up the sounds like the cow, the pig, and the duck jumped in the mud. So we get into the sounds. Also, the children, they know all about quotation marks. They understand the idea of a complete sentence because they're working with it. And so it really makes learning come alive.
You mentioned phonics.
Okay.
Have you had any concern from parents that you are not teaching reading the phonetic method that many of us learned by?
Do you know, I think because the children are so excited about learning, and they're constantly bringing, you know, good books, good literature is a real integral part of this. And they're bringing books in and all kinds of other things from home. When we did the ocean, they were bringing shells and all kinds of fun things in to share. Now we're working with the jiggery in space. And what I do is with each big book, I've gone through the alphabet. The children really need to know all their beginning consonant sounds. But besides just isolating the consonant sound, they need the whole scope of the use of that sound. And so we've really even gotten the vowel sounds.
So they're getting the basics.
They are getting the basics, yes. And what's so that's like with Mrs. Wishy-Washy, we chose 4. The W, the cow, the C, the P, and the D. And those 4 we concentrated on. We did a lot of other activities, both songs and rhymes and all kinds of other fun activities to reinforce the phonics.
It's been a long time since I've been in a kindergarten classroom, but is this unusual for kindergartners to be learning to read? Didn't that used to happen in first grade, or am I dating myself?
Again, Gretchen, it's all the idea of readiness. And when the child is ready, if the learning environment is there and the opportunity to learn is there, they're going to do it. Plus, what's so exciting about whole language, we do cooperative learning here. They have learning partners and they work together. Rather than isolated, trying to figure something out by yourself, you work together on ideas. And that's what's so really exciting about it. I brainstorm with some other teachers. And what is really interesting is that we start off with a sheet like this on each whole language book. And everything is tied into it. The senses, our long-range ideas, manipulatives, art, music and movement, science, math, cooking. We usually cook on Fridays. Then other related books and poems and stories that we want to use. Extension beyond the classroom. Is there a field trip that would really tie in and do well with this? When we did Hairy Bear, we went down to the Science Museum and saw the big bear exhibit that they had down there. So the children learned, as well as being fluffy, fun, you know, stuffed animals, that bears are real and that they do live in the wild. Dramatic play. Every book that we do, we get up and we do creative dramatics with it. And the children will take off. Sometimes they will do art projects that are connected with the unit that we're doing, or with the big book that we're doing. But this whole idea really came from Australia does it all the time. And these books were published in New Zealand. In fact, I just had the opportunity to take a workshop from Jan Turbo over at Hamline University, and it was really exciting because the things that we're doing in class, she said, it's great, you know, and gave us new ideas and really reinforced the theory that writing and reading go hand in hand. And that's another real important phase of whole language. And the children here do a lot of writing. We write together as a group, and they'll also do writing in their individual beautiful books.
Well, it's fun to watch the children as we came in today working at the computer, and they were composing some of their own stories or poems. What happens then when the children go to first grade?
When the children go to first grade, it's really fun because they do companion reading. And so the children are used to cooperative learning, and they're also really getting very deep into creative writing. And so therefore they've been finding at the first and second grade level that the children are much more excited and they use their imaginations a lot more with their writing. They also respect each other with where they're at. Everybody knows that everyone has certain talents, and some people can come into kindergarten reading, and that's okay. You know, other people come into kindergarten, they can tie their shoes. And so everybody has their special talents, and the children are real supportive of each other.
That's exciting. We can look forward to looking at them doing some of their projects. What about reading aloud in the classroom? Do you use children's books from the school library or the public library in your classroom?
From both. In fact, I have quite an extensive library myself. And our school library and our public library, I have a lot of books.
You have to get that plug in always.
You know, it is so wonderful because I am able to call the librarian up and say, tell her who I am right away. She says, okay, what are you studying about now? And she knows age-appropriate books that I want. And the children they'll come into the room and they just pick up a book and they do a lot of reading just on their own. They also love to check books out and be able to bring them home and share them with their parents. But even going beyond that, which is so much fun, the children are writing their own books too. With Mrs. Wishy-Washy, what I did was we Xeroxed the pages so that the children could fill in the spaces themselves and illustrate the picture. Now we're going to do the same thing with the jiggery, and you'll kind of see that in action, which is really kind of fun because we'll be working with action verbs. We're just going to begin this book. The children have not seen the book and they haven't done anything with it. So I thought I'd kind of start you off at the beginning phase of it, where we read aloud together a shared book, and then we do some of the activities that kind of tie in with it. Then the children do get into their writing, which we do right away. The children start the first day of school with their beautiful books and writing. And then here's the stages of children's writing. And the wonderful thing about this is that I do get together with other very capable, knowledgeable kindergarten teachers, and we brainstorm. And this was an idea that was shared with us with a kindergarten teacher from Riverview School, and she uses this idea. And it's just been wonderful because the children are all at different phases.
Kind of hard to see that. Why don't you sort of describe it? It looks like
okay,
some of the
really
children are just
right.
scribbling.
Right,
it's the way they do in
scribbling
preschoolers.
writing. When they will draw their picture and they will write. Now, like we'll start off with a story or a poem or something that we're working on, and then they will draw their picture, they will illustrate it, and then they will write it. And the children can go back and they can read it to us. 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line, they can read that to us again. Then they get into picture writing, the next stage. Then they do pretend or imaginatory, sometimes it's been called temporary writing, where they will kind of put a combination of the different types of writing, of the picture writing and the scribbling. Then they get into labeling, where they've drawn their picture and they're listening for the sound. Usually it's the beginning sound, but not always. Then this is really fun because it's a one-letter sound spelling. 6 girls are having fun. Now they have the S and the G, and when you say R, you hear the R sound, and having, you hear the V sound. Then they get into the sound spelling. And I'd say most of my children are right up in this range. And then they do the
I know a lot of adults who are in that range, and that's I-L-V, love, school, S-K-L.
Right. And then school.
E-S. Great. G-R-A-T.
Right. And the children can write that, and then they can read and they can share it with each other. Now there's another teacher over at Homecroft, Pat Pierman, that gave us this plan and this idea, and she's just she's very much into children's literature also, and she's working with special needs kindergarten, which is very interesting because she and Donna Deltz over at Horace Mann work with special needs, and then Linda Moan and Mary Beth and myself and Ann from Riverview have gotten together, and we just brainstorm and share ideas and share materials, and it just makes learning just come alive.
Cooperation, and the whole idea of this is that nothing is done in isolation. Every single subject you're teaching is tied to the next subject, so you have a whole integrated core curriculum.
Right, so it kind of ties it all together. We'll do some math. We incorporate the math. We do the math their way here, and I think the children really get involved with the kinesthetic sense in the hands-on.
Well, I'm looking forward to see you working with the children.
Well,
Let's go to the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, boys and girls, we've been studying about space and talking all about the planets and the astronauts. In fact, can you sing the song for me that we sing about knowing how many planets do we have? 9. 9. Let's sing our song.
My very educated mother just serves 9 pizza pies.
Very good. Those are how many planets in our solar system?
9.
And what's mine?
Mercury.
Mercury. Very
Venus.
educated.
Earth.
Mother.
Mars.
Just.
Jupiter.
Served.
Saturn.
Us.
Uranus.
Good. That's a tough one. 9.
Neptune.
Neptune. Pizza pies.
Pluto.
Very good. So you know about the planets, and we've been talking about the astronauts that have been going into outer space, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk more about space later. But now we have a new book for you. This is called The Jiggery. And I'd like you just to look at the cover for just a few minutes. You know what that is?
Spaceship.
It's a spaceship, and it's the kind of spaceship that lands on the moon. And it's called a lunar landing module. Can you say that? Lunar landing module. And later on today, each one of you is going to make your own lunar landing module. Swimming here, swimming there, jiggeries swim everywhere.
I thought they were in space.
You think they're in space? Yeah. What's wrong with this picture if they're in space, Bryn?
There's no water.
There's no water, right? So what do we have to use, do you think?
Imagination.
Our imagination, right? What do you think they're going to say when he comes home with a jiggery?
I think he's going to say, what's that?
You think he's going to say, what's that? What do you think the boy's going to tell him?
It's a jiggery.
He's my friend. Isn't that great? Wouldn't that be wonderful if you ever brought it?
A follow-up activity to our shared big book, we did a sequencing fan where we folded it in the order so the children knew which activity followed another. Then they chose their favorite activity from the book. There were 8 different activities, and they drew their activity that was their favorite. Then we came back as a group and we sorted them, classified them, and graphed them so that they could compare which group had more and which had fewer and how many more one group had than another.
Here we go, jiggery. Here we go, jiggery. Here we go, jiggery. All on a satellite. Boys and girls, if you look at the picture of the astronauts, what do they have on? A white spacesuit, right. And they will have a white spacesuit. The reason they wear a spacesuit is so...
We brought reality back into the classroom with a flight suit and a helmet and the mask that they used to get oxygen. Also, the books that we used showed the progress that space travel has made, from where they landed in the ocean now to where they have the actual space shuttle.
Then it doesn't need the rocket boosters anymore. Then the rocket boosters separate. And then it continues up, but it still needs all this fuel. This is full of... Okay, let's see how Natalie will look. Hey! Girl in space! That's great. How does it feel?
Weird.
Weird because it's kind of what?
Big.
It's kind of big. Right? That was good, Kelly.
There, now let's give somebody else a chance. You want to try it out, Michelle? See, you have to kind of pull it out.
There, look at that.
See, how does she look like an
There, Kelly's getting it all fixed up. There you are. Ready to do blast off. You're ready for blast off. How do you feel?
4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
There goes Patrick in the outer space.
Chalk stories are a great way to do a group writing activity. And children really use phonics in their writing. And they learn phonics through writing, especially working together. We'll work on it together, then we leave it on the board for a while. We'll come back and revise it. When everyone is happy with it and they're pleased with the story that they've put together as a group effort, then we write it down on a chart and we hang it up and save it, and the children will read it repeatedly. They also will refer to their list of space words for words to be able to use in their story. The children also will write in their books individually and spell phonetically.
Very good. Do all those words look good? Now let's see. Take that freeze-dried food and just pass it around so you can see what the first astronauts used to have to do. They had to take the powder and add water to everything. And then it turned out to be tasty. Kelsey's team.
Astronaut juice. Years ago, when the astronauts first started going up into outer space, they drank Tang, and everything that they had was in powdered form, and they had to add water to it to eat it. So the children got a sample of the Tang, and then they could also see samples of the type of dried food that they had.
When you finish this, would you please put your cup in the basket?
Landing on the moon in the lunar landing module. Each child made their own lunar landing module and designed it the way that they feel, that the type of module they'd like to travel in someday.
Yeah, where the Ben tennis and if you go like this, so it's like this, and then go further and
Very good. Take your cup and take your try. Then you Oh, do you know what? Let me show you.
We have a tubbing table that we will use when we study a unit like space and the jiggery, all the materials that we use, the good literature that we have and the models that we have will all be put out on the table, and the children automatically gravitate to that table to pick up something and learn a little bit more about it.
Willi, you're the school media specialist or librarian here at Highland Catholic. What are some of the ways that you work with the classroom teachers in helping develop the curriculum and especially developing a love of reading? Because I know that's one of your passions.
Well, one of the ways I do is to help the teachers, support the teachers when they are doing different units in their classrooms. Mary Kay Cooney is working on Friends right now, so we have some of the books that I've been able to offer her. I also like to encourage the teachers to read to their children, and I try to get them new books or just interesting ones that they can good read alouds for their classes. As for the love of reading, I certainly like to do that, and I do it through a lot of different ways. I like to tell the children stories. I have a story apron that they really, really enjoy and have been asking lately, oh, please, please, can we have that again? Just recently we've done some plays with the children, and then there are always different kinds of things like art projects or acting things out or including them in the stories so they become real special. I have a cute story about acting out a story. The second grade last year did 12 dancing princesses at the end of last year. And when I said, well, what would you like to do next week as our last week of the school year? They said, oh, please, can we do 12 dancing princesses again? And of course, each had to tell me what character they were. And
they remembered it
yes,
from a year ago.
Very
That's
much.
wonderful.
I think they will always remember the 12 dancing princesses.
So again, you're helping the integration and the entire whole learning process of the school.
I hope so.
Thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
We'll do the Media Center at another time.
Great.
You have to have a lot of energy to be a kindergarten teacher today. Thank you, Mary Kay Cooney and the students in the kindergarten class at Highland Catholic in St. Paul.
Chicka Chicka Boom Boom by Bill Martin Jr. and John Archambault, illustrated by Lois Ellert. The alphabet is out for a lively romp in this adventure chant. The bright, vivid colors bring the action to life, while the rhythmic chant tells the adventure of the letters and the coconut tree. It starts like this. A told B, and B told C, I'll meet you at the top of the coconut tree. Whee, said D to E, F, G, I'll beat you to the top of the coconut tree. Chicka chicka boom boom, will there be enough room? Here comes H up the coconut tree. Well, all the other letters follow up the coconut tree, and it's quite a group up there. 26 is too many letters up one little coconut tree. And when disaster strikes, the big capital letters come to the rescue and never miss a beat. Of the many wonderful alphabet books created, this one stands out. Children who learned the alphabet long ago, or those who are just learning, children in large groups or all by themselves, will find this one fun and fresh and very appealing. The bright, bold, richly colored illustrations will attract them to this one, but the rhythmic chant will keep them calling for one more time. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom by Bill Martin Jr. and John Archambault.
Chicka Chicka Boom Boom by Bill Martin, reviewed by Nan Nystrom-Hilk, Children's Services Librarian at the Maple Grove Library. Thanks for joining us on All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.